Heyo, what's up, boys, and what's up, everybody watching? But we're just gonna ignore everybody watching and go back to the root of a Convos with Humans podcast that is just convo, not premeditated. I was like thinking, should I like jot some notes of things to talk about? And I'm like, I'm gonna intentionally not, and we'll just talk, see what happens, because we've recorded a few episodes in between this one coming out that haven't come out or that aren't coming out that were just flops, like technical difficulties. Are we getting technical difficulties right now?
No, I'm just bumping down the ISO on this guy.
Yeah. Everybody's probably like, who's that guy talking? I don't recognize that baby face. Because your boy shaved. This is like the first shaved podcast. Like, I don't think the podcast has ever seen me without a beard before.
Dude, you should give him a little close-up. Show him how sexy you can be.
They're like, so y'all are letting minors on your podcast now? But I kind of want to do maybe like a recap of the past 6 months. Has it been over 6 months? Was the last episode the Great Scott episode?
It's pulled up.
Last posted. We have like 4 or 5 that I want to say have been recorded since then.
Each time we hop on a new podcast, Truman has moved.
Yeah.
The world has almost ended multiple times. New dictators have risen to power.
This garage has been home for probably 5 or 6
Podcast?
Yeah. Maybe.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
You're gonna get locked out of your account.
There we go.
But your boy was at a pretty dope concert last night. I've been going to lots of concerts lately. I was even thinking of like old episodes. I'm like, I like when we were talking about music a little bit because I like talking about music. But Kenz, are you on the side of hating country music, or do you like country music, or where do you fall? What's your stance on country music?
I don't hate it like I used to. It was like this family thing where you like had to hate it in our family for some reason. But I never like willingly choose to listen to it, you know? It's like if it's on, it's cool. I'm not gonna go to a concert, but it doesn't put me in a bad mood like it did when I was like 13. So I don't know, I guess I'm getting old and boring. I don't have super hot takes anymore on that.
Yeah. Country music is kind of like a virus where there's that one friend in the friend group that likes it and then it spreads.
Yeah, I feel like growing up in like high school and middle school, it was always like, oh, I listen to everything but country.
That's the classic Utah, I feel like. Well, Utah is kind of split where there's like either cowboys that are like 100% country.
Yeah.
And then there's the other side of things.
So this is the most recent one that we've done.
The Luke episode.
That's crazy. 8 months ago.
Episode 48.
That was January 17th.
Wow, that's
so
the.
long ago that you've grown your beard out.
I know
since
that's like the same, almost the same length beard
Wearing the
wise.
same hat.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's the lucky podcast hat now.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
What kind of music you boys been consuming lately?
A Drake album. The new
Oh,
Drake
yeah.
album.
Oh yeah. For the dogs.
Yeah.
So talk about it, True. Which Drake songs were the most underrated? That Honest feature? Or how do you say Drake's son's name?
Adonis.
Adonis.
I like.
Wait, is he on the album?
Yeah,
He is on the album.
No.
I like What Would Pluto Do, All the Parties, 8 a.m. in Charlotte, Another Late Night, Away from Home, and Drew Picasso.
Don't talk to my man like that. Don't talk to me. That's his verse. Adonis's verse.
Yeah, it's pretty whack.
I didn't even know.
That's funny. Yeah, I had no idea.
Dude, he's been doing like an album a year.
Yeah, I wish
Even
Tyler
multiple
would be on his
albums
wave.
per year.
I wish Tyler would make music as often as him.
I know.
It's been like, well, it's been 2 years, but I saw something that he announced that he's not going to do another one for
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's been doing lots of Golf Lafleur stuff. Like, I saw like a new commercial that he did, and he like composed the soundtrack and all this stuff, which is pretty dope. Like, I like to see Tyler venture out of the music sphere because he's just like an all around creative. It's pretty interesting, like how the dynamic of releasing music or releasing art in general changes once you have a platform. You know, like, and that's why I love like artists like breakout albums, like their first work, because it's like coming from a different place than if you already have 4 successful albums out, you know, because like it's got to be so easy to overthink like someone like Frank Ocean, like that builds up all this anticipation. It's like if he doesn't drop the most perfect album, he's getting shredded, like absolutely destroyed, because he's built up all this hype around, oh, is Frank Ocean gonna drop or whatever.
Yeah, look
So-
at Chance the Rapper. He started off really hot with acid rap, and then what was it, Coloring Book? They were both pretty big, and then he just gets like, he's a joke now online. Like, people make jokes about how his music is just about his wife, and he just says ah all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I know, because, like, you gotta keep in mind as an artist what type of music you get known for, you know? Because, like, acid rap, bars, he's rapping, he's Chance the Rapper. And it's like, oh yeah, this shit is fire. He gets on the public radar. Then he drops some fucking gospel bullshit talking about his wife and going, what? And everyone's like, that's not what I wanted. Like, has he had many bars, like, aside from like Ultralight Beam or like some features that he's done? And I'm sure when he gets in the studio with a feature, they're like, all right, Chance, we want that rapping shit. Like, we don't want any of that. So I don't know, every time I try and listen to it, it just doesn't really hit. But then like the other way around, like, because I feel like as an artist, you gotta explore different territories, but then you gotta find your way back home. Like, I feel like that's kind of been like Tyler's career, is like, he started to explore with like Cherry Bomb and Igor, and then he kind of brought it back home, and that's when he got the Grammys. Like, Flower Boy, Call Me When You Get Lost. Like, Call Me When You Get Lost was a home run for me because he was rapping. Like, it sounded like old Tyler, like the Tyler that I liked. But what about like any like new artists or small artists or like not as big artists? Like, anybody you guys been listening to that's been interesting? Truman's always got those low key recommendations. Like, you put me on to Jordan Wood that I've been listening to lately,
Yeah.
because he hits that kind of like electronic R&B vibe.
Oh, this guy?
Jordan Ward,
Yeah.
not Jordan Wood.
I wish we could like play music through. I guess I'm the only one with headphones, but it'd be cool to like have all headphones on and I could like play something and
Yeah.
you could all hear it.
Just react.
Do like a music episode, but then there's just like copyright. Like, I don't know what that would be like for a
Well, I'm
podcast.
interested what it's like for Spotify, because if you're putting the podcast on Spotify, they already like own the songs, you know? Like, they're already streaming on the platform. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Like, I'm curious whereas YouTube doesn't, they only have like specific relationships with labels, but like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, it's interesting when it comes to like React content like that. How we could, I feel like there needs to be a way to have it more like copyright free. Like, you should be able to listen to and like react to music the same way you can like videos or like even TV shows. You should be able to like react to that. But they're even, I don't know, maybe we just need a way to like give the proper views. Like, right now, if you, like, the problem is people see like, oh, you're watching that video instead of the original. And so like on YouTube, there was a way that if you were reacting to something, if it's in your video, it would also give a view to the original one or something like that. I feel like would be able to even the playing field, because it's so bad right now. I feel like people get taken down for reacting to stuff a lot. And so, I don't know, it's just one thing that it's like you never would expect that to be a problem, but it's coming up. So it's interesting. I don't know.
It'd be cool to like be able to give ad revenue to that original creator by reacting, where it's like you split off the it's like when you do a song with a feature on it, you can set it up so both artists get the
Split.
split. It'd be cool to do that on YouTube, to be able to have creators, even if they're like collaborating on a video, because like how it is now is like if like Casey Neistat did a collaboration with like Mr. Beast on Mr. Beast's channel, Mr. Beast would just like get all that money, because it's on his channel, and they would have to figure out something outside of YouTube, compensate him. But it'd be cool to just have it be like integrated into it, where you can like collaborate, like how on Instagram you can do a collaborative post, like being able to do that on YouTube where it splits off. They honestly should do that, because
Yeah,
like
that's fire.
the video could show up on both channels the same way that it does on Instagram, and you both could get the split of the views and the revenue.
Yeah.
Do you think that would incentivize people to do it more, or do you think it would like turn off big creators from having like smaller people on, because then they would have to split that?
Yeah, I think that you could set it up. They should be able to set it up where you can like determine how much of the revenue goes to them. Because like, if Mr. Beast is like helping like a new creator get started, he's not gonna be like, take half of my money. Like he's gonna have more of the leverage in that thing and be like, I'm not gonna give you any money, but you're gonna be put on by me. Like on my channel, like you're gonna get 50 million people see you. So I think you can figure it out. Like I don't know. But if it's like two creators that are at the same level and they want to just like cross-pollinate their audiences, that could be cool to just like split the revenue 50-50.
Yeah, because like with music, like when you get like a UMG copyrighted my video, they don't just take the music off. Like they still let me run my video, but then they run ads on my video and they take all the ad revenue. Which like when I don't have a bunch of subs, it's not a big deal. Like it's not like I'm not even running ads. Like it's just mostly annoying because I don't want my viewers to have to watch ads if they don't have to, especially if I'm not making any money from it. But it is kind of the trade-off of like if I want to use a popular song in a video, which makes a big difference. Like that was like one of the big things that I think when I was getting into just like editing 60-second type cinematic lifestyle videos, like 2016, like the song choice is such a big component of the vibe of the video. Like that was always like a crucial step where you either hit or miss. So like if you're using this like corporate royalty-free jingle shit and you're trying to make a badass edit, like it doesn't matter how sick your footage is. Still feels like a commercial for Sky Rizzy. Like
That's what I really like about TikTok right now, or like TikTok coming onto the scene, is that they made it so that they don't really care as much about like the copyright. Like there's videographers that are making like sick edits by using mainstream songs, and that was never a thing that we could do in like 2016, like you were saying. Like you had to just roll the dice and be like, hopefully I don't get a copyright strike when I put this like Drake song in my edit on Instagram. Like, but now they're like actively wanting people to put that in there, at least through the platform.
It's a balance, because like I think there's labels that have partnerships with TikTok that let you use their songs, but like I've made edits before on TikTok and then I upload the video, like when I edit the song into the video, not use a sound from TikTok, and it removes the sound completely. It says this sound has been removed for copyright reasons. And it's like the most annoying thing. Like not even big popular songs. Like I made a video that was when we went to San Diego, that was like the Uncle Mike video. And I just used like a freaking beat off of YouTube. But then I tried to upload it on TikTok, immediately took the sound down. So I never posted that video on TikTok. But YouTube, they were fine with it and with the music. So, I don't know, it's still weird. Like, I think if you go about music the right way on TikTok, you can get away with some popular songs, but there's still BS restrictions, which, I don't know. I get it. Like, if I was like a big artist and someone else was making thousands of dollars off of my music, yeah, that'd be a problem. But like a small creator that's just trying to use your song, like, I don't know. Doesn't really make sense. I feel like it's more like label bullshit, like legal shit. What are you doing right now over there?
So ChatGPT can now like see, like you can upload different images, or I think it's just images right now. But I just took a picture of you guys and said what's going on in this photo, and it says on the left there's a person in a black shirt holding a microphone. In the center, another individual is wearing a striped sweater and is also holding a device. On the right, a third person in dark clothing with a baby face.
It thinks he's 14.
Yeah, it says a 14-year-old is on the right side. It says a third person in dark clothing with sunglasses is holding a microphone connected by a wire. There's decorated snowboard on the wall. The floor appears to have some scattered cables, suggesting some form of audio or recording setup. There's a can or container on the floor next to the person on the right.
Oh, you're.
Oh, you're gold.
The gold tumbler.
It says there's a gold swig tumbler.
Wow.
But I'm curious, what use cases you think that this could be used for?
Ask it who is the sexiest out of the
Who's
three
the-
people. It'll probably say something dumb like, I can't say because I'm a robot.
everyone's sexy.
Yeah.
We shouldn't judge people based
Some inclusive bullshit.
But I was thinking, so sorry, I can't help with that.
Boo.
But
Where's Dan?
what sort of use cases do you guys think would be useful for being able to take a photo of something and then have, for instance, they had, the way that they showcased this feature was they had someone that was trying to raise the bike seat on their bike, and they took a picture of it and they asked ChatGPT, what do I need to do? And they were like, okay, you need to undo this thing and then lift it up, or whatever. And so I'm curious what other ways that someone could use this,
Can you do video? Or I guess it probably can do video soon. Because I'm
Definitely.
thinking like, let's say you got a problem with your car, it's making some weird noise. You can take a video of your car and say, you could enter in the make and model or whatever, but you can say, my car is making this noise, what's wrong with it? It could give you instructions like how to fix that. That would be pretty cool.
I don't think it has video yet, but that will for sure be coming.
Yeah, I was gonna say mechanic uses, like you could take apart an engine, take a photo of it, and be like, "Is there anything wrong with this engine?" And then it can go through and be like, "Oh, there's actually a little crack here, or there's like some stressing here that actually makes it unsafe," or like a car frame or stuff like, definitely, or even like medical things like, "Oh, here's a picture of I have a tumor on my neck, is this," or, whatever it is, like, there's a lot of those things that people contact their doctor for that are like these 5-minute interactions that maybe it could kind of take place for.
Could even be like tracking calories, like of someone that's like tracking all their calories. You just take a picture of your meal and it says, oh, there's 3 carrots and this, that's roughly this many calories. Like you just take a picture of your meal every day and then at the end of the day it says, you ate this many calories.
Let's see.
That would be sick. I know they got really fancy scales. You can put your food on the scale and it'll tell you like the breakdown of all the macros
Uh-huh.
and like all that stuff. I don't know how accurate it is, but still, that would be pretty cool if you could just take a picture on your phone and it just tells you all the breakdown, like what it's made of, how many calories are in it, protein, carbs, fats, all that stuff.
Let's see what it can do.
Then even like on like a monthly basis, it can be like, all right, Mike, if you're trying to be healthier, then don't eat fucking McDonald's every day. Or like, you know, yo, maybe try and, I see you're eating lots of carbs, like the bread, the potatoes, like cut the carbs.
Wow. It's already doing it.
So now it just needs like a freaking interface that specifies, like that uses ChatGPT, and all it does is counts your calories of your food.
This
Yeah.
is when I wish I knew software development super well, like as well as I know how to make a video, because like when ChatGPT or OpenAI comes out with this, it's now available as an API for developers to integrate it into software from like right now. And so the people that think of the best ideas, like how we are right now, of like we should make a food app that scans it and tells like it then is like who's the fastest to market at that point, like who's the quickest to get that idea out there,
Yeah.
you know. And if you're a developer that knows how to do that, you know, even if you're a solo developer that can get like a really small example, you know, app out, then you can like start getting users and customers quickly, you know. But
Yeah.
if you have to like go find a whole team and assemble everything, then it's gonna take a little bit longer.
Cause like you wouldn't even need, like if you were to do an app that counts your calories for you, you wouldn't even need to save those photos. Like it could you take the photo of the food, as soon as it gathers the calorie information, it can delete the photo. So you don't have to store, like if everyone was taking these photos and storing this image, then you would need like servers and all this stuff. But if it would just take the photo, get the information, delete the photo, and then store all the text, and then give you like weekly, monthly reports that you can go back and see whatever, then it wouldn't take that much server power or things like that. But it's like once you're like storing images or video or larger files is where I feel like it'd get expensive.
Yeah.
But I feel like you could just use like a template for a similar type of app that, like there's probably already apps for storing your calories, but you just have to be the one to write it in yourself. But what if you just use the exact same design and then now you're just using AI?
Yeah, there's an app called MyFitnessPal, which is really good for tracking. There's like a free version that's pretty good, and the paid version has some cool things. It'll track like more macro details and micronutrients even. But imagine if an app like that just added a feature that was take a photo of your food and will automatically enter everything.
Yeah.
That would be nuts. Then no one would ever have an excuse for just having a totally crazy diet. You know, you know exactly what's going on. All you gotta do is snap a picture, which most people are doing before they eat anyway, so they can put it on the gram. Take that same picture, and now you just take a picture of what you eat every time you eat. Pretty easy.
We're gonna have to cut this idea from the podcast. Is this happening?
Can you see what domains are available?
Truman's already
Yeah.
pitching this idea to developers.
Building a website.
Well, it's pretty crazy. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that, like Adobe Podcast has like the AI fill feature, like where you can like take an image and then you can circle a part and have it generate like and type in. But they just rolled out,
Adobe Photoshop?
yeah, Photoshop has like a fill feature in it. Like, so people have even been taking like a Drake album cover and then they expand it and fill around it to see what the rest of the image would be like. And it's really good. Like, it's realistic, photorealistic, like, but
It goes off the rails sometimes, though.
they just announced that they're gonna implement something like that into Premiere Pro to be able to do this with video, where you could circle a part of the video, and it will remove something or add something in, or
Didn't Roberto showcase that on
yeah, Roberto did a video on it.
like this week? He
Yeah.
like took a
I think it's not even out yet. Like, they're just, I think it
In
might
beta.
come out soon.
Yeah, he took a video of I don't remember what it's called, but the old Google. They're like the Apple glasses.
The Google
they came out with.
glasses?
They're like the old Google ones that were like a prototype that didn't really take off. but he like took the box and made the branding pop more in the video, and like you watch it on Instagram or TikTok or wherever, it looks like it was part of the original video. It doesn't have any weird generated looking anything to it. But then he shows you the before and after. It's pretty stark.
Yeah, it's like, how does AI image generation even work? Like, do you know?
So like the way that I understand it is like, let's go back to, so this is in DaVinci.
Because like before AI was like a thing, I would have never guessed that a use case of it would be to generate images. You know, like I would think of it as like a text assistant, you know?
Yeah. So I like the way that it's removing items is like every little one of those pixels is like a hex code color, you know? And so when you go over it and try to remove it, it's just pretty much saying like it's estimating what hex code, what pixel of color it should put in there based upon what's around it. You know, so if you're removing this car, it's gonna be like there's a lot of gray around it, so I'm just gonna take that exact code of the color and put that in there and just assume that that's gonna be happening, you know?
Yeah.
Or if you do it in this area, it's just gonna do the same thing but use all of the colors that are there and just kind of replicate it.
Yeah.
And then for like a video, it's essentially doing that same thing but frame by frame. So like as something moves, it's just kind of filling in where it's just guessing.
Yeah, I think the way that AI is coming into this, because we used to have something very similar back in like Facetune days in like 2014, and you
Yeah,
could
like
just
spot
you
healers.
could the spot like to take acne out of a photo, and you could basically like sometimes select another part of the photo to take into it, but the AI part of it is that it's going, oh, this car is on a road, and you want the car off the road, so now we're gonna take this road, and now we know it's a road. And we know that on the side of the road there's going to be gravel. So instead of just having the whole circle of like mushy gray,
Yeah.
like we used to have, it fills it in with what it knows that road looks like, based on the fact that it like knows all of the information in the internet, and it goes, okay, we know all the roads. They always kind of have a curve to them, or they always kind of have a edge to them.
Yeah.
And so then when it's taking out the car, it's going to build out that edge because it knows roads have an edge, instead of just being like blurry like it used to be.
So this is something that just came out by DJI, the one that makes the Ronin and all that shit. It's a drone that has a LiDAR scanner on it, and you can fly it over like terrain, and it will build a rendering of the whole landscape, like to the exact like. I don't know how accurate it is, but it seems incredibly accurate. Like let's see here.
That is so wild.
LiDAR is like another one of those sleeping giants of a technology. Like,
Yeah, because I imagine being able to scan through forests and like look, it's so in the video it's separating it out like what the mountain looks like without even any of the trees. It's just showing us what the ground looks like
Yeah.
through the like from the scan.
yeah, that's
And so imagine like the Amazon in places that have so much foliage, scans that go through and then reveal old ruins or like an old mine or something. Like there's so much that's hidden
like, look at
that
this.
satellites can't see. That's gonna be crazy, like the discoveries that are found
Yeah,
with our ability and like how much more accurate Google Street View and stuff like that's
Yeah.
gonna be, and then that makes automated cars way more safer and stuff like that.
yeah, and think about this, like, because the way that I'm pretty sure, I don't know if like the way that the Quest 3 by Meta works is like when you do the pass through. Because like, have you seen the games where like it scans your environment and then like, you know, the wall will break down and like an enemy will come in? I'll have to show you that too, but it's like
I'm unfamiliar.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure like the way that works is there's a LiDAR scanner on the headset that maps very accurately what your surrounding is. But if you take that to the next level of like, imagine there's LiDAR scanners on everything, like your phone, headsets.
Well, it's already on phones.
Yeah, so it's like everything, the whole world is being mapped, you know, to a very intense detail. And then imagine we all have headsets and we're like, yo, let's go hang out at Mike's place. And I'm like, shoot, I'm in St. George, you know? I just pop it on and I'm like pretty much there because it mapped Mike's room so well that I can be there essentially in person and be walking around, and there's a scan of my body and all of our bodies, you know? And like, it's like very realistic because it's not just working off of the video, it's working off of the scan of the whole space, and then it renders it in my own like headset, you know?
Wild.
Because I'm pretty sure Face ID uses LiDAR. Like, I know that there's a LiDAR sensor on the front of your phone, and even TikTok uses that to gather data that can scan your face and see your facial expressions to see, like, how is someone behaving when they're watching certain types of content.
Yeah.
So, like, the data gathering of using LiDAR, next generation. Like,
Dude, that's like a interior designer that's just like building it inside.
yeah.
These are like oh, here it is. So it's like zombies, but you'll just be in your room and like it will scan the room and then create like a window of where like the zombies will be coming in. And so it just kind of creates like your own.
Yeah, I've seen the VR DJ was on the Quest, the old Quest too.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah, video games. All right, here's the thing, guys. I was watching an interview, and it was Earl Sweatshirt, and he was talking shit on simulation theory, and his whole thing about simulation theory, he's like, no one believes in simulation theory that's been punched in the face, because then they know what real feels like. I'm like,
That's like not what it means. Though.
I know, I'm like, you're fucking stupid, because if we were in a simulation, there would also be simulated pain, and like, I don't think that's a valid argument against simulation theory. And he kept saying like, there's so much evidence against simulation theory, and it's like, the thing that's just craziest for me is the progression of technology. Like, it's so quick. Who's to say that it hasn't already ramped up to a point where we've put ourselves in it and it started over and ramped up again, where it's like simulations within simulations within simulations, you know, where it's like, that's the whole thing that Elon's saying of like, the odds of us being in base reality are so small, where base reality is like the world where, oh, this is the first world to create a simulation before putting it in another simulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that all, like, his argument of the odds that we're in base reality is very low is very, I feel like, hopeful that every time there's a new simulation or a new reality, it's going to advance to the point where it has the simulations that are like advanced enough. And if you think about it, like just going back in our, like what we know that happened on planet Earth, we don't really know of any other society before us that's had technology like we have. And so we almost all died in the Cold War. Like the Cold War could have been not cold and we could have all launched nukes and it would have been the end of society. And so it's interesting. I feel like the argument that anywhere that there's a new reality it's going to advance enough to another simulation is like where I kind of get lost. Because I do understand simulation theory in like, I understand it. I understand like why people believe it, and like the same way why people believe in God. It's because like you kind of feel like there's something else. There's something else outside of life that we're gonna like. It's all gonna make sense when we die. When we leave this place, we're gonna either we come out of the simulation or we go into heaven. You know, like a lot of people believe. For me, those are very similar beliefs.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I think definitely like Christianity and simulation theory are very similar.
Yeah, and so it's interesting to me that people who are strong proponents for simulation theory, like Elon Musk, I feel like it's more of a hopeful look on the world.
Oh,
On that,
absolutely.
like, every time there's another simulation, it's going to advance enough, and people aren't just going to kill each other, or, like, there's not going to be an asteroid that comes and takes everyone out. You know, like,
Even just like
It's
any,
interest- you know.
any belief that says that we're not just like monkeys, that as soon as we die, it's over, there's nothing else, is optimistic. Like any sort of belief that there's something after we die or something before we die is like a component of like faith, like believing, like, because of course, like, there's always the realist opinion that's like, oh, we created everything that we see, like, when we die it's over, like, we're literally just evolved, like monkeys that are evolving, and like, I'm just a fucking blip in the universe, like, I don't matter at all, none of us matter at all. And I think there's definitely components of that, but it's just crazy, just like, if I was to put myself in a simulation outside of the simulation, I would think that the most exciting time to plan my life, like if my life is in a simulation the whole time, that from when you're born to when you die is the duration of your game. If I was to put myself in a simulation, I would say like the 50 to 100 years right before a simulation was invented would be the most exciting time where all this innovation is happening, you know? I think some people would say, oh, put me in medieval times, I want to get butt fucked by a Viking. Or like, put me in the 70s, you know? But I think like right now is like one of the most exciting times ever to be alive, with all the technology and all this stuff. Like, so if I was to put cause there's this guy, one of the first dudes to like hypothesize, like the simulation hypothesis, his name is Nick Bostrom, and he talks about what's called an ancestor simulation, which is where we would simulate our past to be able to understand our ancestors better. So like that us right now, outside of the simulation would be hundreds or thousands of years in the future. But then we would create a simulation of a time period in the past for us to experience it or to understand our great grandpa, you know, or whatever. So I'm like,
That sounds like Assassin's Creed, the game.
I
ever
haven't played in a long time, so I forget the storyline.
Well, they have like a whole bunch of them that go through different eras in history.
Yeah.
Whatever, Egypt or Rome, or supposedly there's going to be a Japanese one coming out soon.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, hopefully it's good. But basically, there's like this underlying background in the whole story where they have a machine that you lie down in, and it takes you basically back in time to your ancestor, to whoever, and you get to live their life, and you have to kind of
yeah, that's right.
you have to kind of stay within general lines of how they would have acted, like, and they have different rules for the different games. I haven't played all of them. I think I played 3 of them, and but like if you're a character who was one of the common people, you can't go around killing random civilians. But if your ancestor was somebody who did kill random civilians, then like you can go around and do that. So it kind of has like general rules, but there's some play within the simulation, basically.
Interesting.
And
I didn't know that. So like I like knew a lot about the gameplay of Assassin's Creed, and like I've seen a lot of people play it, but I didn't know that was like the lore. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I gotta revisit it as an
Yeah.
adult because I didn't play it since I was
I
in,
really like
middle
the,
school.
they had one that's in Egypt. That was my favorite. The Viking one was pretty cool. Also,
Yeah,
and the pirate one, that one was pretty cool.
it's interesting to think about the ancestor simulation of, like, we're obviously the generation that's very in this pivotal moment of like technology's been progressing very slowly for like thousands of years. They're like wheels and carts and like little, mechanisms they would make. And then it was like the Industrial Revolution, and then cars, and then planes, and then rocket ships and guns and everything. So it would make so much sense that if we were someone 2,000 years in the future, when like technology's all figured out,
Yeah.
if we wanted to experience a part of human history, it would be like our generation, where humans first started interacting. Like, let's say we all have like the Neuralink in 1,000 years, and everyone is permanently ingrained with technology. This moment where everything started we all started figuring out this stuff, would be one of the most exciting times that we would want to emulate ourselves into in the future, coming back to now.
Yeah.
Like, this would be the time we would want to see, even if it's just a simulation of seeing our past, not like a simulation of a whole other world or something. I don't know, pretty interesting. I never thought about it like that, but it got my wheels turning.
There's a lot of inflection points that we've had in our lifetime. I mean, like 9/11 was a big one, the 2008 housing crash, COVID, like who knows what's next, you know what I mean? Like there's been a lot of big things that have happened.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when we were kids, nobody had, they might have a cell phone, you know, like we came right after the whole car phone thing. People had phones in their houses, and like TV couldn't really be recorded. You kind of could, but you know, it wasn't on demand. And now we live in a world where like everybody's got a phone on them.
A computer in your pocket.
Yeah. Like the amount that a single person can do in a day, if they're like 100% focused compared to the 90s, is a huge difference. And that's why like I feel like it's one of those things where the gap between the average person and the person who is making the most of their life is getting wider and wider. And we also see there's a lot of factors that go into it, but the gap between the rich and the poor is also widening. It just feels like everything in our lifetime has slowly become more extreme on every end. And like what you were saying, like if we were going to go back in time and you wanted to experience a life where you start with less technology and you end with like crazy technology, which is probably going to be our lives.
Yeah.
This would be that
The
moment.
inflection point of
Hockey stick.
yeah, the internet, the technology, and like even like you guys ever like wake up from a dream and you're like, I want to go back in that dream, or like you ever fall asleep and you're like have like a dream, like you want to be able to go into a specific dream. Like I feel like that's what it's going to be like to be able to go into a simulation when the technology is there, is it's going to feel like a controlled dream where you could say, all right, because maybe like, because if you're in like in the Matrix, like on the other side of the Matrix, they're like freaking out, you know, all the bodies are in these like pods, like they've got the thing in the back of their head. It's not like they're like able to just flip it on and off. Like you have to be fully submerged. And I feel like if the technology is there, you could do whatever you wanted to. Like you could say, put me in ancient Egypt, or you could say, put me in 2023, but in the version where aliens attack. Like we were talking about like a video game, like where it's like whatever is like reality. Like who knows? Even outside of it, you could even do like, oh, put me on Mars, put me in a world where everybody's nose is twice the size. And then to us, once you're in it, it's just normal. You're in the big nose universe, you know. Where like,
Ooh, think about the simulation punishments that you could inflict on people.
yeah.
Like
that's Black
for
Mirror right
prisons, like
Yeah.
oh, you're gonna have to be in a simulation where you have to grow and die as like a slave, building the pyramids. That's your punishment. You
That's
know,
like hell. That's
and then
like
you wake up
torture.
after
It's an
after you
infinite-
die, and you're like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm done with my punishment. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be wild.
There's this guy, Max Tegmark, but he's at what's the place in Boston?
MIT.
MIT.
Or
Yeah,
yeah.
MIT.
Harvard.
And so he was the first, I think he was the first guest on Lex Friedman's podcast, and they talked about his book. And in the book, he kind of like I have this on Audible. He talks about all the different futures of like how AI will be like embedded in our culture, and he had a bunch of different like versions of how he thinks it could play out. But an interesting one was he was saying like there would be like zones where different levels of AI is allowed. So, because like people are like, I don't want to live in like this like super advanced world. Like I want to live in a log cabin and all that stuff. But like, so like there would be like regions of the world or of your state or the country where like AI isn't allowed, and that's for people that like want to just live normal life, you know. And then there's like other regions he talked about where it's like super advanced, like almost like how we see like residential and commercial zoned land, where commercial property would be like for extreme automation. Like if you think of like Tesla gigafactories or something, like there would only be specific places where that's allowed, and like only advanced like you can do any kind of advanced AI, automation, robotics, all that kind of stuff in those areas, but you wouldn't be able to do it in a different region. And I thought that was really interesting way of doing it. Rather than just having AI and automation be everywhere, you can choose how much you want to be involved with it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like where that's going to happen pretty quickly is different countries that allow certain stuff first, like the AI usage in like factories or something in China. Like they're probably going to start adopting stuff like before other people.
Yeah.
And there might be like, oh, in Switzerland we don't do any AI stuff, so you can count on your Swiss watches to be human made, or whatever. Like that's going to start being something that's more of a factor in our lives for sure. I feel like the country level is going to be where it separates probably first, because that's where a lot of things naturally separate right now. But
If the United States ended up being at the forefront of AI, like, was the most ahead of the times with all the good and all the bad, would you guys stay here, or would you try to move to a place that was less?
I'd stay here.
You would stay?
Yeah, but I'm just kind of more of like a early adopter type person. Like, even in terms of like basic things, like my music taste is usually like newer music, as opposed to like Michaela when we first met. Like she didn't have Spotify. She didn't know like how to see when new music came out. Like I was like, you see that new album that came out? And she was like, how do you know that? I'm like, the new releases on Spotify, like there's a feed of new. She was like, so like she only listened to like 70s, like when she hops in her car, she just plays her like 70s music. And like, that's like how I that's more my personality, is like being an early adopter of things, of like having a VR headset before most people do, or like a phone before most people do, or whatever. Like I love getting on the front edge of new technology. So I would 100% want to stay in the US if that all happens. Like I would love to be like at a place where I can have like a Star Wars-esque droid that follows me around and is like an assistant, like a C-3PO type thing.
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like if you're in America, you're kind of already complicit in a lot of like the good and the bad of technology, like with our military. And so I feel like for most people, it's going to be kind of something that, like, most people just are just kind of complicit, and I feel like in America, it's going to kind of sweep over fast, and most people are just like, oh, all right, this is what we do now.
Yeah.
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 I think like being in America, but being in nature, like, cause like what I would be afraid of is being in a big city and shit hits the fan. You're screwed. Like, I want to have access to the new technology and the new cutting edge stuff, but not be necessarily like in the middle of the big city.
Yeah,
like,
I don't want to be in a big city.
where it's like, I kind of want the best of both worlds. Like, give me like, I don't know. That's what I like about Utah.
Live in like Boulder, Colorado, and
Like, yeah, be like in a cabin in the mountains, but I still have internet. Like, and they kind of talked about that on Joe Rogan. He had Sam Altman on the other day, and I didn't listen to the whole thing, but he was saying, he's like, I wouldn't want to just be in a world where it's only the log cabin and no technology. Like he'd want to be able to put it on and take it off. You know, it's like not being fully submerged one way or the other, but having access to both. And I kind of also feel that way.
So with that in mind, you said you were like an early adopter.
Yeah.
Would you be down to be like in the beta test group of Neuralink? I know my answer. I wouldn't be down to be
I
the
would
first
not want
round.
to be like the first round. But if it works for like a bunch of people, I would definitely be before most people, I think. You know, like I can see my parents, especially my mom, never doing it because she like still doesn't have Facebook. Like, and I respect that about her because I think she lives a more like peaceful life. You know, she's not involved in a lot of things. And like for a while, she didn't even have Instagram or anything. But yeah, I would definitely be before a lot of other people, but I wouldn't want to be the first. I heard it one time that you never want to be the first to adopt a new thing or the last person. Like you want to be, because if you are the last person, you probably miss the wave. Like the people that we think of now that like don't have a smartphone.
Just getting into crypto.
Yeah.
They're gonna lose it.
Like, or like a business that doesn't have a website or like they're not on Google, like they're not even found. Like if you search like Mexican restaurant near me and it doesn't pop up, you're missing so much like customers by doing that. So there's a point where you want to adopt that new technology. You don't want to be the last person, but you also don't want to be the first, like depending on the technology, because there may be, there's going to be so many more bugs on the first round of something that it could be detrimental, especially if it's a neural implant. But I think that you want to be, at least for me, I want to be earlier rather than later.
Well, what if I were to tell you that the first round of Neuralinks was 20, 30, 40 years ago? Would you feel more comfortable trying it now? Like, even though, because why I say that is Neuralink is a brain interface. Brain interfaces have been a thing since Stephen Hawking had a brain interface. That's why he could talk, because it was, and I don't know if he had surgery and if it was implanted in his brain, or I don't know exactly how his worked, but he couldn't talk. But then we would hear, hey guys, do you want to suck me, suck me, suck me? Like, so, but that was decades ago. And so like by the time that they're putting in Neuralinks, they've been testing it on monkeys, they've been testing it on cripples, like,
Yeah.
where that makes me feel like I would be honestly more down to consider being an early adopter to it, knowing that they've been doing this, you know, especially like if it's a robot that does the surgery, because I've heard it described similar to LASIK, where it's a robot that does it so exactly. They would do the implants the same way so that there's like way less room for error.
Yeah.
I feel like if it was something similar to a cochlear implant, I'm not sure how you
Yeah.
pronounce it exactly.
Yeah, cochlear
where there's
implant.
like a magnet on the inside and like the inside of your skull that's
Yeah.
connected to the components on the inside, and then you can take that whole thing off and like disconnect from your thing and like make it not work anymore.
Yeah.
Then I feel like I'd be way more open to adopting something that was a brain
it's
interface.
non-invasive.
Like if I had like a hardwired, I'm able to turn this off, and there's
Yeah.
no way it's gonna work. I don't know. I feel like the fear is having, you have it in your brain and then
You can't.
it can
undo
get
it.
hacked or something. Like, especially the ones that are like the
Oh,
early
yeah,
adoption
getting
for
hacked.
Neuralink is for people that are paralyzed or people that have like neural degenerative diseases or something, and so like it helps you keep your nerves working in like all of your limbs.
Yeah, imagine somebody just hacked your legs.
Just make you walk.
They can make you walk into the middle of the freeway. They can make you walk to the neighbor's house and beat them up. They can make you do whatever. They could just hack your body. That would be crazy.
Yeah, imagine a whole army of people
Yeah.
unwilling but hacked.
There'd have to be a development in the way that, like, it would have to be all like locally on your device. Like, for instance, like this is like there's no internet that's on this thing. So like you can't hack this thing unless you
Physically.
get a hold of it or whatever, you know?
Pop a USB drive in there. Someone just sneaks up behind you, USB drive into your neck.
But the whole thing about the brain interface is being able to look something up using your Neuralink, right?
Yeah,
the whole
but
point is that it's it's going to be connected.
yeah,
I feel
but
it's
so like
probably-
ChatGPT, there's different versions. Like you can make a local version of ChatGPT that still has all of the like
Process
like this version right here, the default is like not accessing the web. I'm plugged in right now to the web, but people have like essentially like cloned ChatGPT and put it on a local hard drive. Like you can put it on a USB, and then if you then put it into like a laptop that's completely off grid, you can still use ChatGPT as that, like as well as you would, because all of it's like on a local drive. And so, but you can also access the web by going here, you know, where you can like, it like scans all of like Bing's database and whatever. And so I think that it would have to have a development where like things can, I don't know, it's like you'd be able to access things, but things can't come in. But I don't know how.
Like, what if there was some sort of like blockchain type technology? Like, you know how the blockchain like protects your wallet using all the encryption and codes and stuff like that? Like, what if you could use some sort of technology like that to keep your local device private, or even like a VPN type of thing? So it's not like someone could say, oh, Ken's is connected to this IP address, I know exactly where he is, but it makes it so that you're hidden or you're private.
Yeah. So there's this thing called WorldCoin that also Sam Altman is behind, the guy that is kind of running
OpenAI.
And they have these little orbs that, let me see if I can find like a better picture of it. But it essentially, the idea behind it is like which I think this is a little bit like weird, you know, but the idea behind it is like universal basic income, but we're only going to give it to people that verify that they're actually human and not like a bot or something. And the way that you do it is you scan your eyeball to like, because everyone has a unique eyeball, so they scan it. And the biggest like red flag that people saw with this is like, oh, now they have data on your eyeball. But the way that Sam Altman explained it, and like this is just what he said, I don't know if I believe him 100%, but he said the way that they work is not that, like this orb is not connected to the internet at all. Like it's just scanning your eyeball, getting that, and then it's sending a verification code of a bunch of different characters to another device that says yes or no. Like, yes, this is a person, or no, this is not. And so they don't have any data on the image of your eyeball. They just are sending a one-time code, like how you like log into like your email when you forgot your password, it sends like a one-time password or whatever. It's like saying, yes, this is because it's verifying that code essentially. But if you just put like a dog in front of that, it's gonna be like, this is not a human.
Dude, people are gonna get mugged and then get their eyes scanned, or like
Yeah.
dig up old dead bodies and scan their eyes.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if that would work, if like a dead person could get it, you know?
They just start puncturing eyeballs when you die so that you can't get hacked.
Oh.
All right, does anybody else
Dark.
think that Sam Altman kind of looks like one of the homies from Horton Hears a Who? Like one of the Dr. Seuss characters?
Wait, pull one up, Truman. I want to see this.
I don't know, I've just kind of thought that. Yeah, look at his face. He looks like a Dr. Seuss character. I think maybe it's like his nose, his mouth.
He definitely has a long distance.
Pull up one of the Horton Hears a
the
Who
distance
guys.
in between his eyes.
It might not be
and-
Horton Hears a Who. It's just like one of those like Whoville, like Dr. Seuss type of homies, but not from the old books, but from the new, like the movies that they did.
Yeah, the distance from his eyes to his mouth is really big.
Yeah, that
He has
could
a
be
really
it.
big face.
Horton Hears a Who.
Have they done more movies than Cat in the Hat?
That's the only one I know of.
This is all the old Horton Hears Who. You gotta see the new one. Oh yeah, see like that homie.
Why is it not bringing up any, like...
Because they know that we're about to compare the freaking overlord of AI. They're like, do not disrespect our king.
The emo kid right there with the big, yeah. See, it's the big like upper lips.
Yeah, I think it's the big upper lip
The
part.
like long, the long face. We'll try to put some
Why the long
images up
face,
for
Sam?
the people watching at home.
You know, maybe I'd trust Sam a little bit more if he wasn't so pale. If he doesn't look like he had just seen the end of the world.
If
and
he
he
ate more
knows
carrots.
something that we don't know.
The developments on that Tesla bot are super sick too, because these are working off of just strictly vision.
Is this real?
Yeah,
or is
this is
this
real.
like computer generated? Like it still looks like a freaking...
No, this is all real.
Yeah, it looks AI generated, like
Yeah, like it doesn't look
until they put the
real.
human in there.
No, so they've gotten the movement down really well because they're not like they're training the bot off of like human movements. Let me see if I can have like the way that they train them to do things is by having like essentially recording humans doing it, wearing like it's like when you with like the skate games, the way that they were able to like very easily like make it look like they're actually doing a kickflip
Yeah, just the motion
was
tracking.
like mocap, you know.
Yeah.
But they do it a more advanced way where they like are like that, like so they're having a guy do it, and like the bot is essentially viewing that video of how does this work. You know, it's the same thing that we were talking about earlier of like if you fed a video to ChatGPT, like it'd be able to understand what's going on in that video, and then since it's a it's a robot, it can just mimic those movements and just
Yes.
do what it's doing. And so
That's
that's
so
why
interesting.
that's why it doesn't look like this, because it's not being like, okay, move 2 degrees and then go forward, and like that's how it looks robotic. But when it's just like doing fluid motions, because it's training off of human motions, you know.
That makes me think of another use case of this like AI that can see with
Like
images.
vision, yeah.
Is like imagine the first idea that popped into my head is like when I was learning how to play the violin, posture is such an important part about making it sound right, that your like bow is straight, you're holding it right or whatever. And like being like even as humans, I feel like if you can see someone do something, you can easily like replicate it a lot easier. So imagine like you could see a display on a computer and then there's a camera pointed at you. You play your song and then it tells you like, oh, you need to straighten your back more. Or even that same use case for like skateboarding. Like you film yourself doing a kickflip and it's like, yo, buddy, spread your feet a little bit more, bend your knees. Like it could be like the ultimate fitness coach, or like
Yeah.
you're lifting weights.
Yeah.
And it's like fixing your posture, or it's like telling you how to fix your posture. Or like, yo, next time, try and bend your knees more, or I don't know. That could for sure be
Yeah.
fire.
Tesla recently switched, like their old way of training their cars was through, I think it was through LiDAR,
Yeah.
but now they moved over to strictly just vision. So it's just driving based off the
All the
cameras.
cameras.
And it's still like determining, like through the cameras, it can see everything. You know, like there's cameras all over the car.
Yeah.
And if you imagine what it'd be like if every car on the road was a Tesla, then it just has that so mapped out. Like it'd be able to, like this car knows where this one is, not just because of its cameras, but because this one is also its location in time. You know, they're all like, they all know where they all are at, because it's like a hive, you know, like a
Yeah.
group of the same thing. But Elon Musk's like rationale behind that was, he was like, humans drive only on their eyes. We should be able to make it be able to drive just based off vision and not have to have a bunch of different like external devices that are tracking
Yeah.
things. If we just have more eyeballs around it, it should
Oh,
be able
yeah.
to do it better.
I feel like LiDAR is so useful. It's surprising. It's surprising that they're dropping the LiDAR.
I think that it was like just like more technologically expensive or something, or like complex, or I don't know.
I don't know. As a classic cynic, I feel like saying, well, humans drive with their eyes, well, let's make the car drive with its eyes, is gonna limit it to be as good of a driver as humans are, which are not that good of a driver. Like, because if we had if like Tesla full self-driving did the average number of crashes per uses as humans did, it wouldn't be implemented. You know,
Yeah.
it needs
Yeah.
to
So-
be so much better in
Yeah.
order for it to be allowed, I feel like.
Something that's like unique though is like because they're still taking in all of the data on every single individual car, then that data is like sent back to the original like code and it is updated all the time. So like I watch some of these videos where they do a test and like in very like there'll be like one place in the middle of like Indiana where it's like extreme weird like roundabout into a turn and every car messes up at that point.
Yeah.
But every driver that's behind the wheel sends a like when you're using Waze and you're like cop car ahead, and then everyone that's using Wave knows that there's a cop car ahead. And so with this, like they are like if a car messes up, then they essentially just press a button that goes back to the headquarters and like lets them know, hey, you need to fix this one part here because the car is continually messing up. And so like it only takes a handful of interactions where it messes up before it's never going to mess up again because it learns, hey, in this scenario, don't do that, do this, you know? And so that's how the cars are going to get way better over time because they're minimizing the amount of mistakes. Whereas when this first started, like, I mean, even today they still have it where you like have to keep your hands on the wheel or you have to be like there. But I think that it's going to get to the point where you really don't have to do that because it's going to be like 99% accurate. And that would be more than what a human would be at because it's able to like if I start driving and I'm 16 and I mess up a lot and then get really good, like that my learnings aren't going back to some bigger thing, but it is on a car that has vision and they're all connected, you know? So it's like the mistakes are getting less and less as everyone's going through it, you know?
Yeah. So question. Part of why like this topic of like aliens is so interesting to me is because like UFOs. No, listen, just wait for it. Come on, guys.
No, but don't say this topic of aliens when you're bringing it up.
I just mean the topic of aliens in general.
So random.
But wait for it. I'm not done with my thought yet. Why it's so interesting is because the technology behind UFOs is way more advanced than what we already have. And so do you think that if there are aliens that they're already cyborgs? Like if we're going in this direction where we as humans are going to be merging with technology, like Neuralink, or even like in that Sam Altman podcast, he's like, we've already started the cyborg merge, like with like cell phones and technology. But like if us as humans are moving in this direction of the future of where we're going to be merging with technology, if aliens are so much more advanced with their technology, have they already merged? Like, are they alien cyborgs? Or, I mean, I also feel like if there are aliens, there's not just one type of alien. Like, there's probably alien cyborgs and other aliens. Like, but what do you guys think? Like, do you think aliens are like cyborgs? Or what if even like a UFO is like an extension of their body, like a cyborg type component? Kind of like, I don't know if you guys saw the Jordan Peele movie Up.
Mm-hmm.
Where the UFO was like a living thing in that movie that was like eating people, and it was like a shark, the way that it behaved. Like it moved through the clouds. Like it wasn't just like a freaking helicopter. Like it was like the UFO was a living thing.
I feel like it would probably make sense if there are, like, it would be like the same way we talked about it. There would be aliens that implemented being a cyborg or ones that didn't. And so if there are aliens, there probably are ones that are like cyborgs, like they're all combined, you know, like they use like whatever, like a camera for their eye, they can zoom in and stuff like that. But it would make sense. There's also like the organic aliens that like want their log farm or like log cabin and a farm, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't know. But I definitely feel like if we have UFOs, the way they've been described, it seems like they're like a POV drone. Like when you
Yeah.
see those little things and it's like 4 inches around and they can fly at like hundreds of miles an hour and there's just one dude with some goggles somewhere controlling it. And it's like he's there, but not really. That's what I feel like if UFOs are around here, that's like probably what they are, is other aliens like sending probes to like check us out.
Yeah.
And if anything, maybe they're in like some crazy suit somewhere, just watching from the POV of the UFO, you know?
Yeah. No, I also think, because like if you have like a freaking UFO that can travel faster than the speed of light, which it would need to be able to do to travel from a different planet or different solar system to get here, like how could you do that with a living like biological being inside moving that fast? Like it would kill it. Versus like we already send robots to Mars, like the Mars rover, and we already have hella drones. Like I totally feel like even like with like UFOs, there's got to be a bunch of different types of UFOs, like from different alien species, where maybe some of them are like drones, but then there's other stories of UFOs that are like massive UFOs that have like things inside of them, like a mothership, or like all UFOs that have other UFOs on it that like break off and split apart and they get connected. Like there's been lots of people talking about those types of UFOs lately.
I feel like the theory with aliens, if there are aliens, there probably is some sort of alien, like they communicate with each other. Like if they're flying around and there's other people, like if we had the technology to send UFOs to their planet, like at that point you're probably in communication, and it would make sense that there's some sort of like, hey, don't mess with Earth, like they're on their way, they're evolving, like it's too soon for us to go there. That's like the only way it makes sense for me, because like either there's tons of aliens and they're all like advanced, or there's like not aliens out there. I don't know.
Yeah, I would even guess that most, like, if, like, it even makes me think of, like, Men in Black, how there's all the different types of aliens, you know? I would guess that, just thinking, like, statistically, the majority of aliens are not advanced enough to travel to other planets and stuff, like how we are. But then there would be a small percentage of dominant aliens that have the power and the technology to be able to monitor those other planets and their progress, and then at a certain point would visit a civilization once they get advanced enough.
Yeah, like what if we're like tracking apes, you know, in the Amazon right now? Like let's just put on our scale of like our planet. And then what if we saw them like figure out bows and arrows? And we're like, wait a second, like they're starting to have wars and like kill each other on massive scales. Like there'd be a point where humans would almost feel like we need to step in so like they don't go extinct, right? So like it'd be pretty interesting if like the aliens, they saw like us with like nukes, and then they're like, we set off 2 nukes and like, I think there's been like 30 or 40 that have been set off total, but like 2 of them like in war to like kill people.
Yeah.
And then that's when the aliens were like, whoa, time that we...
Yeah, because that's part of the UFO lore, is like that they started popping up once the nuclear bombs like started becoming a thing. Like a lot of UFO sightings were around government bases and stuff.
Truman's pulling up some info for us.
So, first thing, I'll get back to my other thing, but first thing here is, we've already observed that, like, monkeys are entering their own, like, Stone Age, and what that means is essentially using tools. Like, they're not just using their hands to do things, like, they're getting smarter and, like, figuring out how to break something open using a rock or whatever. Like they're using tools.
Making fire. The first monkey to make a fire.
But I feel like going back to the aliens and stuff, sometimes I feel like people think that aliens are a more advanced version of humans.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that what if it's not humans and it's something else that evolved in a different direction?
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you look at essentially the tree of life of evolution, like we are, if you're following like this sort of like way of viewing the world, like humans are an offshoot of apes, you know? And
Yeah.
but what if, and like we went down that road very far, and like the competitive advantage for humans, if you're looking at like the landscape of organisms, is that we've always been able to like think and use tools better than other species. Like, so like if a lion is in this room, we're not going to be able to take that lion unless we have a tool with us, like a gun or a spear or something like that, or like like a tool that we're able to leverage. And but that doesn't mean that other organisms aren't intelligent or aren't smart, you know?
Yeah.
Because like fish or like different organisms that use
Dolphins,
sonar to communicate,
whales,
that's not something
octopus.
that's not something that we can naturally do. That's something that they can do. But so what if like dolphins, for example, kept going down that route of becoming more and more evolved in that thing, that they were now able to, you know, do what we think is impossible. You know, like when an alien technology comes in, we're like, how are they doing that? That seems so outside of our world of how something is done.
Like so foreign.
Like maybe that's like, maybe they aren't human at all. Maybe they're not an advanced human. Maybe there's something else that evolved totally in the other way, that they also got intelligent same way that we did. But they have different resources. So it's not like aliens are cyborgs, because that would be like what we would become, because we have always been good at leveraging technology and tools. But maybe aliens are still like carbon organisms where they have flesh, but they are just so much different and have different skill sets than we do.
Yeah, like octopus or chameleons that can change their physical appearance to blend in. Because the first life forms on Earth started in the water. And then we started to evolve once we came out of the water into amphibians. And then that's the direction that humans came from. But you could say we've been evolving longer underwater than we have above water. Because most of these organisms, like whales or dolphins or octopus, like have never been above water. Like their whole evolutionary path was underwater, versus we came from once we came out of the water. So it's like it almost makes me think that life underwater could be smarter in some, or I mean, I think without a doubt it's smarter in some ways, but it could even just overall be smarter than humans, period. Because even there's things that whales and animals do that we can't even freaking come close to. But the value of different traits is different. You know, like a whale has no need to start a fire, know how to make fire or anything like that, or even how they communicate, like communicating underwater, or like if we're going into this freaking, I love this like territory of combo, you know, because everyone knows that we're just talking out of our ass. Like I'm not an expert
Just to
on
let
any
you
of this
know,
shit.
it's sober October right now. We're stone cold sober having this conversation.
It's true.
But like, I don't know. Like I saw a video of a homie that was talking about how like whales can communicate
Here we go.
telepathically. It was this story of a guy that was a whale trainer, and then he started to be able to connect, like communicate, like the whale was telling it to do things telepathically.
My
and then
dog
he
does
went-
that, dude.
Yeah.
All the time. He's like telling me he wants food. He
Oh
wants
yeah,
to go
my dog
outside.
manipulates me all the time. Just like makes me feel guilty for not giving him treats, but
What would he say this elephant was telling him?
he'd be like, "Suck me, suck me." No, I'm just kidding.
Hop in the water.
No, but it said so.
Invest in
I
FTX.
can't remember. This is yeah, these are my source is TikTok. But I don't know. I just think like
There's that one dolphin girl who like saved a dolphin or something from like a sanctuary or like brought it to her house or something, but started doing like acid with the dolphin and said that she was like able to communicate with
That'd
the
be
dolphin.
crazy.
Yeah, I've definitely heard about that.
And she did.
Or there was a dolphin trainer that was like getting sexual with the dolphin.
That's the one. Yeah.
Oh, it's the same one.
They did acid together and they had sex together. She says it was consensual
That's how mermaids began.
because like they're communicating, and then they have a relationship. But
Well, because humans definitely have relationships with animals, not sexual relationships
Some do.
necessarily, but like humans can connect and communicate with animals, like dolphin trainers or whale trainers or monkeys that speak sign language, like chimps that have had the same owner their whole life, or like you see, there's a story of a bear that was raised with this like Russian army. And so it was a totally domesticated bear, like a grizzly bear, but it wasn't dangerous. Like they'd hang out. It could even shoot guns. It would
No.
smoke cigarettes.
No way.
They would
dude.
give it cigarettes. It would
No
smoke
way.
cigarettes.
all right, look it up.
Pull
True.
it up. Pull it up.
I'm
That's
serious.
crazy.
I think it was Russia. It could be. It was some other country, like grizzly bear. And this was back in like the 40s. There's photos of it of like an army, a group of people. And then there's the bear that's like wearing a. I don't know if he's wearing a shirt or not.
I don't know what side of TikTok you're
Look
on.
up Russian army bear.
Russian army bear.
So far, no luck.
Well, because I don't know if there's. This is from. This
Oh,
is
whoa.
this. Yes, sir. Your boy's not lying.
No
Polish.
Only-
Yeah.
There's no
I need to
way.
see footage though.
But this was so long ago that I
Well,
don't
I don't-
think they had. They have photos.
Whoa.
Like this bear was
This bear is
just in
in-
the army.
This bear is coming out the side of a Jeep right here. It looks like he's in the driver's seat.
Wojtek, the soldier bear. Yeah, he's drinking beer. Okay, maybe it was beer, not
This is
cigarettes. That he
punching
would.
him.
Hey, they're
He would drink
wrestling the
beer.
bear. That is something that Russians do. Is wrestle bears. They'll like declaw them. And like put a muzzle on them and then wrestle bears. I think Khabib Nurmagomedov, the UFC fighter, there's videos of him wrestling a bear.
So here's something that's somewhat related to what we're talking about. With like robotics and AI, let's say you had like a companion droid that like followed you around, like in Star Wars, you know? Would you consider that to be like a relationship? Or would you be like, oh, this thing's fake, it doesn't love me for me or whatever? And then, so I want to hear
I'd
your,
say it'd be a relationship.
yeah, I want to hear your answers, and then I want to relate it to something that we already do.
Like think about TARS from Interstellar. Have you guys seen Interstellar? You know the one that goes with them, and it at the end of the movie it like sacrifices its life to save that person, and like they treat it like it's a person. Because
Yeah.
like, imagine if it was a droid, it would also have a memory of all the experiences it had with you personally. So it'd be like, hey Truman, remember that time that we went to Colorado? That was so fun. Because with TARS you could control like the levels of how emotional it was and how like if you could have one that was totally not personal, or you could have one that's like cracking jokes
Yeah.
and is like has emotions.
I feel like you definitely. I feel like I can. I want to relate it to like my phone, but I feel like the way I'd more closely relate it to is like the relationship you have with your car, and like I feel like guys kind of especially have this a little bit more than like girls, but and maybe it's just like more like with old cars, and people but like the way that you'll like love a car. It's not like a relationship because you're probably not feeling love back, but you're like, you appreciate it and you love it by like treating it well.
Uh-huh.
So like, it is interesting the way like, I don't know, because I would say I have a relationship with my dog because like when someone else
Yeah.
tries to be close with my dog, they're not as close. Like my dog's not going to react the same way he does to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have a relationship with my dog, but like my car is going to act the same way if someone else like relatively,
Yeah.
like unless you have like some old crazy stick shift thing that's like janky.
Yeah.
A car is gonna act the same way towards people. So like that doesn't really feel like a relationship.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting.
So I would relate it to the relationship that we have with our pets, because like, you know, everyone says like the love of a pet is like nothing else, and they love me for me or whatever, and like that's true. But I'd say that that relationship, like that bond is like embedded in the domesticated dog or cat, you know, or whatever pet that is, and they've learned that behavior over the years, like over a long time of like this is a video of how we domesticated dogs. And it's like essentially if it's like a wolf pack comes in and their first intention is we're gonna raid this camp and steal all their food. But then they realize that if our goal is to survive and get food, it may actually be better if we develop a relationship with these humans where they give us food in return. And so like I'd say like my cat, like, or your dog, if you just left for like 2 years and like didn't give it food and just abandon it, it's not gonna like love you the same way that it does when you're caring for it all the time. And so there's a relationship in it where, because it's like people say, like the love that my dog gives me is so unconditional, but I'd say it is conditional. Like they only love you for the shelter that you're giving it, the food that you're giving it, like the safety. Once that's gone, they're kind of like the trust is now like going away. And I think that that's how it gets, like, because people would say like a droid, it's like fake love, you know, it's not real, you know, but your animal's love is technically not real. It's conditional. Like it's like they only are there because you're giving them something. If you were just like beating them up and not giving them food anymore, they wouldn't unconditionally love you, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like,
I feel like
that
the thing
totally
that
makes sense.
the thing that would separate it then for me would be like if you sell your dog to someone else, it's like their dog now. But like for a while, if like that dog saw you, it would probably favor you. But like a droid, as soon as you get that, you're gonna program it to favor you.
Yeah.
And so like I think that's the
difference.
that's the thing is
Yeah.
that the working for the favoring. I think that's like where it comes from is like you feel that bond with the dog as well. It's because like you've kind of built something up. But with a robot, you'd be able to like tell it to feel or to like love you that much just right out the box.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it wouldn't click with our human minds. I would hope not. You know, like it wouldn't click. It wouldn't feel like quite as important. I don't know because we're not like working for it as much.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Isn't that also sort of like how all relationships are?
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, if you've got a person in your life that all they do is take, they never provide anything, when they hit you up, you're going to be like, not this fucking guy again.
Yeah.
Not that you necessarily use relationships, like the value you get out of someone could just be that you have fun when you're with them. Or, you know, they understand you, or like you trust each other, you're loyal to each other. But like loyalty, respect, relationships are a two-way street where like there's a give and a take both ways that make that relationship stronger. You know, like the relationships that are the strongest, I feel like have the most value being exchanged between each other.
Mm-hmm.
But like also, what if imagine having like a AI assistant or software assistant or a droid type of thing, but it was with you throughout your entire life, like since you were a child. Then you're like 25, like you'd probably have, even though that thing isn't alive and you maybe paid money for it, and like just like with the iPhone, you have to buy the next one, but then it carries over the same memory from your past one, so that like, oh, you've had this droid for like 20 years to where you've perfectly fine-tuned it and customized it to behave how you want it to behave, which sometimes you want one that's going to crack jokes for you, sometimes you want one that's just going to not question you, do whatever you say like a slave, like. But it's like with technology, there's never going to be that living element to it.
This is such a crazy concept, because another thing that like the people that are on the forefront of robotics and stuff like are saying is like, or even if, like Mark Zuckerberg, he's like, I don't want there to be one AI. Like there's going to be multiple different AIs like that are going to be good at certain things. Like
Yeah.
if you look at like Midjourney or Dolly, like those are really good AIs for making images, you know, and like the more that it makes images, the better it gets at doing that. And I think that that'd be the same thing for droids as well. Like imagine like a cowboy type guy that lives in like the middle of Wyoming. He has a droid that's really good at ranching stuff, like
making ranch for salads.
yeah, like Hidden Valley, like buttermilk and like all that kind of stuff. And but it's
A
like
cow milking robot.
and like
Bacon Ranch.
yeah, like you could have that robot be really good at like tending to cattle and all that stuff, and like it would the like algorithm for that would just get better and better, and then you would also be able to like sell that algorithm to other people that want to leverage
Well,
your data.
Like license it.
That's like pretty much how it already is. That
Yeah.
some implement, like if you think about just on a farm. My brother used to work on a farm up in Oregon, like 10 years ago, and he was showing us like in his tractor he has this program where their fields are all mapped out on GPS,
Yep.
and so he'll just like bring the tractor to the field and like load a pattern on, and then he'll just sit there and it will go down and it will do this pattern and we'll go back and forth and till the whole entire field, and he's just there behind the wheel just making sure everything goes all right.
Right.
But it's already doing it. So like that's a farming droid
yeah.
technically.
And I
You
think-
know, like we're already
yeah.
there.
I think that there'll be ones that are, and like I continually go back to Star Wars because I think that is, in my opinion, like the best example of it. Like there's droids that are like really good at like tutoring or something, like whether it be in schools and stuff. But then there's like infantry droids that are really good for like war, and those have different skill sets than one that is really trained on empathy and compassion, or like therapy droids or something. Like because you would have to have different skill sets for different scenarios, you know. Like I don't think they'll just be like one, or even if it like the Tesla bot is the foundational one, like that's like the blank slate droid, and then you can train that algorithm to be better at certain tasks, you know, like throwing a football or something. But if you just handed a football to another Tesla bot, it's not just automatically going to do that the same way, because it doesn't have the same like software that learned that thing, you know.
Yeah.
But you there's probably in the future going to be a marketplace where you can like download. There'll be like open source algorithms for like, you know, tutoring or whatever. You have the Tesla bot, but you download and update new like algorithms on that robot, so it's like good at that thing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a GitHub for
for
AIs.
Yeah,
Yeah, the thing I
That'd
like
be
about
cool.
the Star Wars droids is that they don't look realistic.
yeah. I don't want mine to look realistic.
You know, like you clearly know that C3PO stays in his place. Like, you'll never be like me.
Yeah, he can't be a Jedi.
Like, it'd be hard to trust a human-looking robot. Like, that looks like it's got skin, like a Westworld type robot. Like, if we were living in a world that had those types of robots, it'd be freaking terrifying.
Yeah, I just think like, what's the point of making it look human? Like,
Yeah.
you can like using it's going to be the same. Like, what it's going to do is the same. Why do we have
Probably
to have
It's
it?
all
be-
just
spy,
design.
like spies, like
Yeah.
international, like internation spying is probably gonna be like they probably will make super realistic ones that can like go, because imagine like that LiDAR scanner thing, and it's like someone that's taking a tour of the White House, and then they get a super, you know, Russia can get like an in-depth LiDAR scan of the inside of the White House or like something like that. I don't know, who knows? Like they like the spy programs are like the CIA has tons of money, and so like it would make sense that that would be so valuable. It's like something that would be like imperceptive. I don't know.
Yeah. What if? So you know how you can take your dog somewhere and they'll
Yeah.
train it for you for a week or two. You know, imagine you put a Neuralink type of interface in an animal, and you take it to a training place. They install the Neuralink and they give it hundreds of years of training in a week period, and your dog comes back and it's like, "Yo, what's up, Mike? You can talk now." I mean, it's like that Rick and Morty episode where the dogs take over. Because the difference between that and a droid is that now it's like a living thing. Like, if you had a bear, you put in this interface and it's like, I'm Benny the Bear. I have feelings. Like, you hurt my feelings. Like, I have rights. Like, it would eventually go find a job, get its own apartment,
Steal your girl.
steal your girl. There'd be like protests. There'd be Bear Lives Matter. But I don't know, like, because they're already like the monkeys that are doing the Neuralink testing. Are they doing the implants, or they just have that freaking pole in their mouth?
They did it with pigs, and they did a implant, like a real.
Wild.
Yeah.
Pigs start talking.
Yeah, you could. I mean, just imagine a world where you can bestow intelligence on any animal.
Yeah.
You just take human intelligence, just plug it right in. All of a sudden, we become the weakest animals on the planet.
I know, because
Or
we
maybe
lose
not the
our
weakest, but-
advantages.
Yeah, it'd be interesting though, because like our brains are so much bigger. Like that's the thing, like on that evolution tree we were looking at before, the moment that like separated us was this like point in evolution where our skulls started to not be formed when we're born. And like that allowed our brains to get bigger, like our skulls to end up bigger than they could be if they had to pass through like the hip bones of like the female, it like already formed, which is like why like horses and like giraffes can just hit the ground, born, and they start running. It's because like their brain has been formed in the womb. But like the thing that changed with us that allowed us so much more processing power in our heads was that like our skulls are like soft and like or like in plates, and so they can like compress kind of. And so I wonder if like how that would work going into other types of brains with less processing power or less like decision making. I don't know. It's interesting because
Like
we have,
choosing.
yeah, we have so much more. That's like what's allowed us to be able to build tools, and you know, like the same way we see monkeys starting to use rocks. You know, like that's their processing, like their decision making. Going, okay, that's easier and it hurts less to use a rock than to smash it with my hand. You know, like that's so tiny compared to like the decisions we make as humans to like keep society running.
Like installing like a conscious inside of an animal that's
Yeah.
like before a bear goes and slaughters a human, it's like, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure your actions have consequences? Like helping them think.
Like
Like,
pretty wild. I don't know. Obviously, we think a lot, which is why we're doing this right now. Which is
Yeah.
why we all listen to podcasts and why we all read books. Is because we have this weird, crazy curiosity that other animals don't
Yeah,
have.
that's
They're-
like our thing that we have
Yeah.
as an advantage, you know, because we're not stronger, we're not faster, you know, but we can outthink.
everything. Yeah, pretty interesting. I don't know.
so I guess kind of taking this in a different direction, but on the animal topic, I want to hear about what your experience was like going on a hunt.
Yeah.
Like the morning of the hunt. What time do you wake up?
Like 4 or something.
And then walk me through,
So-
like, did you go and did Caden pick you up?
No, I was at his house.
Oh, you were already at his
Yeah.
house. You go and drive how far? Or did you have to do, like, prep in the house of, like, making sure your bow is, I don't know, what, like, do you have to tune a bow?
Yeah, which is what I didn't do and what like messed me up later in the hunt. Is like, cause Caden was like, dude, you gotta get your bow tuned, like blah blah blah, and like, you know how things go. Like when it's like January and he's telling you this, and the hunt is in August, I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. And then like fast forward, it's like 2 weeks out, and I go to like get it tuned, and they're like, yeah, it's gonna be a 3-week wait. I'm like,
Because everybody is
and so I didn't really like understand the significance of like tuning the bow. Like I thought it was like go get your skis waxed. I'm like, dude, yeah, like you know when Brighton is like, yo, get your skis waxed, and like we're like, you know, whatever, and I can still ski without doing that, you know, and like I just thought of it as like something that like only people do when they're really into it, you know.
like tuning a guitar.
Yeah. And so I didn't do it. And what that did was it made my arrows shoot like all over the place. And so I shot at like 4 different animals and like missed them all. granted I was like 70 yards away, so it's like pretty like hard shot. But Caden was like, dude, use my bow next time you shoot, because like he has like a $3,000 bow that's like perfectly tuned. It's like the Lamborghini it's like the 2023 model, you know, like it's so nice. But going back to like what it's like out there is like you just feel so like it's like this is reality. Like this is like we're talking about all these things that we do, like we think we invent things, but like when you're out there, like that's what like real world is, you know, when you get back to the core of it. And it's just weird how like things operate out there, and it definitely, there are lessons to be learned from doing that. Like for example, like one of them that I noticed is like how much like dominance. So like I don't know how much you guys or the listeners know about the anatomy of like an elk or a deer or whatever, but like the amount of like spikes, like break-offs they have of their antlers is how old they are essentially. It's not like directly like, oh, they're 2 years old. I don't think it's that way, but it's like if they have bigger antlers and more like offshoots of them, that essentially means that it's like a signal to the like dating pool essentially of, yo, I'm a guy that has been around for a while, I'm strong, I'm capable. And it's like almost the same thing. Like if you go to like if you're like out in public somewhere, or like you're in one of those metropolitan areas like Manhattan or LA or whatever, like you see it more, where it's like a dude pulls up in like a Lambo SUV and he's got Louis Vuitton on, and he's got so much money, he's fucking jacked, you know. It's like that is like a 6-point buck that you just came across, like, and all of the females want that guy, because like if like this is how it works in like the hunting, like the wildlife world is like, so I'm not saying that it exactly works the way for humans, because there's other things that they want, you know, whatever, but like that guy, like the big 6-point buck walking around, is like all the females want to go after that guy, because they're like, why am I gonna go after this like little guy, because he's brand new? I don't know if I'm gonna give my genes to that guy. I don't know if my kin are gonna survive. But if this guy that's been surviving and dominating the area for like, some of them are like 10 years old, like big bull elks that are like massive, have been like dominating that territory for 10 years. And so all of the females want to go after that guy, because they're like, you know, my offspring are going to survive more with that guy, like statistically.
Yeah, it'll be safer.
Like, so they're like, so I found it really interesting where it's like, if you as a male in like that sort of world want to have options of like dating options, you have to be tough, strong, capable, all these things, and you have to get better and better every day. You can't just be like chilling on your little home area, and you just like, you're not going to be a potential option. So essentially your genes are going to die. You're not going to be able to mate unless you are a good option for them. And I thought that was a really good like takeaway, you know, because like it's really easy to just be complacent, especially like if you're like engaged or you're married. You're kind of like have this idea of like, why do I need to get better? Like I already have mine. But it's like that's where you start to lose too, is when you like just get complacent and go downhill. So that may be me reading into that too much, but I think that was a really good takeaway. But it's just like really cool to see that like natural world out there where it's survival of the fittest. That's essentially what it is, like to the T, is survival of the fittest, and like only the strong survive, and only and like, so there'll be like one bull elk that's like the dominant one in that area until another one survives long enough to take the throne, you know? And like it's just a very like ruthless world out there, you know? And that's why a lot of hunters, like when you really get good at hunting, like for me, I was like just stoked that I got something, but like the better that you get at hunting, you're very picky about what you want to go after, because it's like, if you're able to shoot that bigger like 6-point monster, that's like more of like a flex essentially of how good of a hunter you are. Because like anyone, like in quotations here, anyone can get like anything out there, you know, like as long as you, because it's like, it goes into like the big guys, like they also survive 10 seasons of understanding how humans work. So it's like really hard to be able to get up close to them because they can hear you from so far away. They know all this stuff. Whereas like a little like 1-year-old male is like the equivalent of like a 16-year-old boy that's like so naive, and he's just like out there and just like gets shot in the dome, you know, by an
making
arrow. It's like,
mistakes.
like it's just very ruthless out there, but like it was a very tough pursuit. Like it made other things seem so easy, which was another huge takeaway. That like I was explaining that to Caden, and he was like, wow, dude, like I didn't even realize that, because he's been hunting his whole life. But for me, coming in at 30 years old, I'm like viewing it as a like objective sort of experience where he's been in it for so long. And so it's like when you're out there for 3 days, waking up at 4 a.m. and like, it's like we're pretty much like hiking Timp every day, like an equivalent of it, you know, like the amount of different things we do. Like we do like one hike, and it's like not like you're just on a trail all the time. Like you go off into the brush and like the backcountry, and you're just like stepping over huge logs, and like everything's so dense, and then you don't see anything. Like you don't see anything at all, and then you go all the way down, you go to the truck, and you just drive for another spot, and you're like, let's go up there. And it's just so, you never get like a break really, other than like, you know, having a little Cliff Bar every once in a while, or having like a freeze-dried meal, and you're just constantly pursuing it. And like, so that's the aspect where it makes modern life seem so almost laughable how easy it is. You know, like, because when you don't have anything that's truly difficult in your life, you start to make things difficult. It's like we were talking about this back when we were driving up to Logan for the Sandlot shoot a while ago, when we were talking about this idea of like, you can't just escape hard things. Like it's like almost like a vacuum where like you try to remove hard things and just more hard things come in. Whether it's like you're starting to like think about like my purpose in life, all this stuff, you know, but it's like, if you go back to like when people were trying to just survive and get food, they weren't thinking about their purpose. They were like, I need to get food in my belly today. And like, that's what like hunting was about for them, was like I need to kill something now. And like, that's what that like pursuit was. Like, it was like so much relied on that because my family didn't eat if I didn't get this. And so like that brought so much like clarity and like stuff back into my like modern life, because it's like, you know, if you don't have anything that's actually hard, you start to think that sending an email to a client about something is hard. You're like, or like doing a sales call is hard, but it's like when you do something that's actually difficult, whether it be hiking Timp or doing a marathon or hunting or whatever, like you're like, yo, it puts it way up here. And so when you compare other things to it, like hopping on a sales call, it's like down here, you know, and it's like so easy to do that thing. And so like the principle that I took away is like, you constantly need to be doing things that are, like it's so cliche at this point, like outside your comfort zone, but I think that we don't realize what that means exactly, or we don't take it to that amount of extreme. We're like, I'm gonna go out of my comfort zone, so I'm gonna go hit Vasa today. It's like, no, dude, that's still like very easy. You know, like go put like a 50-pound backpack on your back and go walk 50 miles and then come back to your normal life and be like, okay, everything's easy now. Like having a difficult conversation with someone's easy, you know, but that doesn't last forever. Like even now, like it's only been like a month and a half since I got back from it, and I've already gotten to the point where I'm like complacent on some things like that. So it's like you have to have like those big events, whether it be doing Timp every year or whatever it is, like have something scheduled that's like really difficult, so it puts things into proper perspective. Because I feel like it's really easy to like point fingers at like someone like Goggins and be like, dude, why are you doing that? Like you don't need to do another marathon, you don't need to do another race or whatever. But like I've kind of changed my perspective on it of like, that's actually so smart, because he's putting like a forcing function into his life of like every few months I'm doing this thing that's like literally like so hard, you know, that when he goes back to normal life, everything's so easy.
Yeah.
And so you can actually make like insane progress, because it's really easy to look at those like physical feats of like running an ultra marathon and be like, oh, another guy that's just addicted to running or whatever. But it's like, you're just looking at it from the physical perspective, not the mental aspect and emotional aspect that you gain from doing that thing. And that's also, I think, like why people do cold plunges, because again, another thing that you look at with cold plunges is like, why, like, how is that going to help you, whatever, like you're just hopping in cold water. But it's like, when you have something in your day-to-day life that's so like viscerally hard, then it makes everything else easy, you know?
Yeah, well, I even feel like kind of the negative side to like a bucket list mentality is like, you do it once, then you check it off your list. It's like, oh, I want to run a marathon. You just do it once and then you slip back downhill, versus like doing a marathon every year, or like, it's not like anybody could do a difficult thing one time, but like, it's like going back and doing it that's like reminding you of what's actually challenging.
Yeah. Another thing that I learned from it was like, because like me and Caden are out there, and it's just like you're out there in the wilderness and you don't have any data of where these like deer are at or where these elk are at, and you're literally just like guessing. You're like, that mountaintop right there, let's go up there. And it's like not an easy thing to get up there. It's like requires, like, that's half a day right there to just like guess and be like, I think they're up there, you know? And like you go up there, nothing's there. Like one of the times we literally hiked up this mountain and we had good data. Like he called some of his like hunting buddies and they're like, dude, there's always elk right here. Just go up there. Like there's a little watering hole that's up there. They're always there. So we planned a whole day to go up there, and we sat at that water for legitimately 7 hours. We got there at 10:30 a.m. and we left at like 7 p.m.
Wow.
and we didn't see a single thing. And it's so easy to get discouraged and be like, dude, we're never gonna find these elk, you know? But the lesson I took from that too is like, you constantly have to be trying, and trying is better than just sitting at camp and be like, dude, it's never gonna happen. Like, what's the odds that we can find them? You know, it's like, and I related that to like sales, where it's like, you're doing outreach, you're doing cold emails, you're doing whatever, you're trying to find clients. Like, they are out there. There's 100% client, all the clients that we need are out there. But it's like, and the bad way of looking at it is being like, dude, we're never gonna find them, you know, like whatever, might as well not try. But like the hunting approach is like, they're out there, let's go up there. If that doesn't work, we're gonna come back, we're gonna go over there. You know, it's like, you have to be willing to take a chance and keep going if you see no returns at all. Whereas, like, because if you just sit at your desk and you're like waiting for them to come to you, like that's the equivalent of being at camp and just expecting a 6-point elk coming in, and you just are like, oh, you just shoot it right at point blank. Like, that's never gonna happen. Like, it could happen, but like, why would you bank on that as your thing, you know? And so like inbound leads could come in through whatever, you know, like through you know, just from them stumbling on our website or whatever it is. But that's not a good approach to have consistent flow of like that's not a good like input of your effort to be able to like guarantee. And there really, it's like there's no guarantees. Like hunting is like, there's no guarantees. You could go to that spot where everyone has said that the elk are there, but the wind changed and they're 2 passes over. And that's the same thing in like the marketplace, where there could be so many good leads from, you know, event planners to do live streams or whatever. But COVID-19 hits, no one's doing that. Like, it's like you have to constantly be adapting to your environment in order to have the best odds of getting that kill, you know?
Yeah, and you have to be learning constantly. And like, I love this sales conversation because I was kind of thinking about this when I was at the concert I was at yesterday. It was like a Midland concert, and it was pretty chilly. So of course they're selling hella hoodies, and I'm like, sell hoodies where it's cold. Like, and you're willing to pay, like the hoodie that I bought, $70. And of course it had like the band, is a drinking problems hoodie. It says drinking on the front, then in the back it says problems. And if it was hot out there, I wouldn't have bought a hoodie. But because it was like pretty cold, I was like wanting to buy a hoodie. And it also like, part of why I love going to concerts is I love seeing fans. And like if I look at it like compared to like, you know, let's say you go to a Midland concert, everybody that's at that concert is a fan. Like, especially if they bought a ticket, means that they're more than just an average fan. And then the people at the front row, it's like a guaranteed place to find the super fans that are buying they're going to buy the merch. Like, they have the product that's there. Like, if you were just put a Midland t-shirt at a Walmart, might not sell that well because people don't know who they are. But then you sell that shirt at one of their concerts, they're going to sell out because they're getting right in front of their fans. And then within those fans, there's always going to be there's always going to be a spectrum of super fans and bystanders. Like someone that's just, oh, my girlfriend likes them, I came with her, they're maybe hanging out in the back. Or the person that waited out front for hours in line. And it just had me thinking of just like a big conversation we've been having like with Temple Mill is like, we need to have a customer that is very easy to find. Like, if it's just like all of our customers are entrepreneurs, like we have experience with entrepreneurs, but it's like, it's so difficult to find an entrepreneur versus someone else that's like, if we're targeting dentists, we could go to a dental convention and it's just full of dentists. And then within that convention of dentists, there's going to be a percentage of dentists that are urgently looking for your services, that if you can find the right person, it's a no-brainer. They're going to buy from you all day long. Like, if you're at a Midland concert and you're selling hoodies where it's cold to super fans, they're flying off of shelves. Like, you don't have to talk to the band. Like, you just have a booth set up and they walk in. Like, the band doesn't have to say, hey, buy merch. Like, they don't have to convince you. Like, because they're positioned perfectly. So it just has me thinking of like, if I were to look at our business and the market that we're selling to as a concert and our clients are fans, how do we position ourselves as a hoodie in the cold that is like, and also how do we find those clients? You know, that's what I love about like events, like, because it's like a concert, but just concerts are just music specifically. But it's like you throw a dope event for dentists and then they're already there. And then you know that all the dentists want this product. Like, you can make that sale so much easier than if you're freaking in Vegas in the summer and you're trying to sell hoodies. It's not that the problem is the product, you know? The problem is like the positioning and how you're communicating that product, you know? Like, doesn't mean that a hoodie is a bad product just because you're trying to sell it in Vegas and it's 100 degrees. You need to go to somewhere where it's cold and then maybe you'll sell hoodies better. But like, it just kind of has me thinking of like I've been in like a product development world mindset for so long of like thinking like how to make the best products, blah, 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 blah. But then I think it gets to a point where it's like having the product is part of the equation. Then how you position that product is the other part of the equation that makes it so that you can sell it, you know? There are video companies that do way shittier videos, but they charge more money and they get more clients. So it's not just about, oh, how do I make the best video? It's also, how do I position myself the best way? How do I communicate what I'm selling? How do I, find these people? And I don't know, it's just like kind of an interesting, like, this world of like marketing in general, of like positioning something in a marketplace. Like even, we went to LA with our client Luke that was on the last episode, and
8 months ago.
Yeah, 8 months ago. And I was just like, as Luke was talking to us, I'm like, dude, you're so good at positioning. like as he was talking about like all like whether it's like his own personal development, like becoming the best version of himself, or like his business, and like I think that that's such an important part of like having awareness of like other solutions in a marketplace, and then where you can fit in that makes it so that people will go with you over another one. Like if you just pop up a McDonald's, it's exactly like McDonald's across the street, people are just going to go to McDonald's. They're not going to come to your place. So that market share has already been taken by McDonald's. So you have to find a way to either be, we're going to be like luxury burgers, really high-end burgers for the person that doesn't want a cheap, quick thing, for a different type of person in the marketplace. But I feel like that goes just with every single product. And like it just, being at that concert just had me thinking of like, you know, sales doesn't have to be super difficult. Like every single negotiation or close with a client doesn't have to be like pulling teeth, convincing them from scratch, trying to force them to buy your service, you know? Like some of my favorite like sales relationships like that I've had have been the easiest because they already were looking for what I was offering, and then they came from a referral they already knew. So it's like as soon as we got connected, it's like boom, we're working, and then we work with this person for years to come once they're closed once. And versus the people that it's like I had to force the relationship and work really, really hard, and then we do one project, it blows up and doesn't work because they weren't even a good fit in the first place. They were looking for a totally different solution, but we were positioning ourselves wrong and attracting the wrong clients. We were just like, hey, we're the new video company in town. We're looking any video project you want, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So then we were like getting screwed. Versus like, I think there's a lot of power in positioning to having awareness of your weaknesses. And a client is also going to be aware of your weaknesses. Like, you know, McDonald's is aware that they don't have the best patties in the game, but they are also aware that they can come in at the best price point and that they're looking for the person that's looking for something else. But McDonald's isn't trying to front. I mean, they're not coming out and saying, buy a shitty hamburger, you know, but they're also not saying the world's best hamburger. Then you come in, they set the expectation totally wrong. People don't want to come back.
Yeah, definitely. I think you look at this kind of stuff. It kind of reminds me of something that Chris Williamson said on Modern Wisdom, and he said in life you have to choose your regrets. Like there's no path that you can take it's not followed by a ton of regrets. And in business, you have to choose your weaknesses. You know, like we know for a fact that we're not trying to make the next version of Jaws the movie, you know?
Yeah.
We know that we're not trying to do photo even though that's kind of related. You know, and we're definitely not trying to sell hamburgers. And those would all be considered like weaknesses. Maybe not photo because you're a freaking wizard, but you know what I mean? Like those are all technically weaknesses that we have chosen that we're okay with. And it's like in life, you also have to choose the things that you're comfortable with having suck. Like you have to choose which parts of life are going to be de-emphasized. Yeah. And those can change over time. Like you can have seasons as well. Like maybe you have a season where you really focus on getting in shape. You have another season where you really focus on school. Or you have another season where, you know, maybe you're like newly married and you're really focusing on building a family. Whatever. You can have seasons as well. But there's always going to be this element of not only do you choose what you're good at, but you do have to choose what you're going to deliberately ignore or deliberately let fade or slide. Because if you try and do everything, it's like in those video games where you get to pick the points for your different attributes. If you do one on everything, you're going to be behind all the people. Like the one guy who chooses 100% speed, he's going to book it to like the next spot. He's going to get the good resources before you. And the other guy who chooses 100% strength, he's going to just kill you over and over because you got one in everything. You know what I mean? And it's like with business as well, you got to choose the things that are going to be bad so that you can double down on the things that really stand out, that are like your thing. And that's what McDonald's does like so well is, you know, they're not trying to sell tacos. They're not trying to do any gourmet stuff. They're not trying to turn it in. They're not building like McDonald's blimps or something. They're trying to turn it into some fancy experience. They know that they're about speed. They're about convenience, and that's what they do.
It brings it back to like the algorithm of like robots and AI and all that stuff, because like your business is like you, whatever you do the most, you're just gonna get better and better at doing that thing.
Yeah.
So if your video production company only does marketing videos for dentists that drive their like customers by 200%, like, or whatever, like people that are looking for that are just going to go with you because you've been doing it longer, whereas they're not going to roll the dice on like a video team that has never done that before. And so you have to carve out your own blue ocean is what it's called. There's a book called that, but it's like pretty much the idea of like in the ocean where a lot of people go, it's a very murky red water because there's a lot of activity there and like killing and all that shit, you know, like it's, you don't want to go there. You want to find the part of the ocean where nothing's going on and make your own name in that area and be the best at that one area, you know. And you can, like what Luke was saying in LA was like so mind-blowing too, because it's like so simple. He was like the way that he built his marketing agency was he started out exactly how we started out, and a lot of people start out, is he was like, hey, I do marketing. If you have a business, hit me up. I'll do your marketing. Yeah. And like a lot of people, us included, when we started, we saw that as like an asset, like a benefit. Like, hey, we do everything. You know, that's cool. That's awesome. We're so good that we can do everything. And we saw that as like a badge of honor of like, we're so good that we can do it all. But you can't. Or like you don't want to go that route because you become so commoditized. But when like, so he did that first and just was doing like a client like this, a client like that, and none of them are related at all. But he then like failed miserably, had to fire his team and went back to the drawing board of like, okay, like who is the client that I want to serve the most, where they have the money to afford what I offer, they want what I offer, you know, they need it on a recurring basis, you know, like it gets results. And you just start thinking of like who that person is. He landed on healthcare, like dentists, chiropractors, liposuction, all that, because he saw that as like a very safe area, because even when there's like a downturn in the market, people are still going to go get their cavities fixed, you know? Yeah. And so what he does at that point is rebuilds his whole business and website to be like, I'm the best at marketing for dentists, you know? And then you make the headline of your website be like, we enhance your dental customers by 200% or whatever that thing is. Like, what does it, someone that owns a dental clinic, what exact result are they looking for? And then you put that as a headline. And then you go down and someone's on your website, they see, oh, you've worked with the top dental practice in Utah. Like, I know that guy. And he has a testimonial that says, yo, Luke changed my life. You know, it's not just like Joe Schmo from around the street. It's like the guy that you look up to in your industry is like, Luke's marketing changed my business. And he has 6 of those on the website that are all from dental practices that are saying, yo, Luke's amazing. And so when they get on that landing page, they know that Luke is the guy for doing marketing for dental practices. Like, he's not going to do your e-com store or whatever. And so they naturally also kind of filter out like the sale, like the amount of leads, qualified leads that come in are going to be better, because if they don't see anything about e-commerce on the website, they're going to be like, oh, I guess he actually doesn't do e-commerce. I'm going to go find someone that does. And if they are a dental practice, they go on the website and it's like all of this testimonials and social proof of how he's done the same work for people like me. Like people are going to rather roll the dice on that. It's like, related to also the hunting example of like the female is gonna everyone has to roll the dice on something, and so the odds are gonna be on the one that has the most likely outcome to like get you where you want to go. You know, like if you're gonna spend $10K to do marketing, you're not just gonna give it to Jimmy from the ward to figure out Facebook ads.
That's doing all the above.
You're gonna go to you're not gonna give the money to the guy that's done events, weddings, wedding photography, and then he also does e-commerce marketing on the side. You're going to give it to the guy that's dedicated the past 5 years to this one thing, and his whole website is around that whole idea, you know? And so like diving deeper and like niching down on one thing is like what actually sets you apart and gets you the results you're actually looking for, not trying to do like everything, you know?
Yeah, because also like with like building a team and having a repeatable offer, like if you're like, this is something that we faced, was like doing so many different types of video. It was hard to build systems because like one day we're doing a freaking YouTube series, the next day we're doing a Facebook ad, the next day we're doing this, and like sure there's a little bit of overlap, but like with how Luke was explaining it to us, he's like, dude, we got templates for everything because they're doing an exact specific thing, you know? Landing page, there's a specific template, like
You literally
he can
copy
train
paste,
his,
you know?
you can easily get someone to hire. You can hire someone, plug them in, give them the systems, and they can run it. Versus like when you're all over the place, like it's not really repeatable, and that repeatability is where a lot of money comes in. Like when I see like, I'll be at a drive-through that is like really really slow, and then I'll be at like Chick-fil-A where they got like 4 homies pushing you through the line. I'm
Yeah.
like, what I see is Chick-fil-A is making money.
Yeah.
These guys, by being slow, like I'm getting frustrated. Like I've been waiting for 30 minutes for my food, and so have these other people. It's like you're losing money versus like getting that repeatability. So you got a line that's going over and over and over again. That's making money.
Yeah.
So I totally want that wave of like that repeatability, like
Yeah.
where you're doing the same thing over and over again, and you're the best at it.
Yeah, I think it's important also to note that niching down is not always necessarily applicable in your personal life. You know, if you only do one thing all the time, yeah, you're going to be an expert in that, but also there's an eventual stage where you get stale. You know, it is definitely like there are times and seasons for you to focus on a certain thing in your personal life, but the concept of niching down in a business is almost like this. I'm sure there's examples of businesses that have broken this rule of niching down, but it's almost like a permanent law in business that if you start to branch out too much, you damage your brand, which is not always true for like a human. And it is like an important thing to acknowledge, because like when we were initially talking about niching down, like one of the fears was, like you guys were always saying, we're going to do all these different types of videos. We can do any type of video. The fear was like, you're limiting yourself. You know, you can't
We're
be
gonna have to say
creative.
no more.
Right. You like, and you feel like, oh, I can't be as creative. If I work with only dentists all the time, I'm not going to be hyped about every shoot that I go on, because it's just dentists all the time. It's going to get old and boring. And while that may be true on a personal level, from a business level, you want the boring, you want the repeatable, you want the consistent. But as like a human, we crave variety. Like it's one of like, I don't remember the number of needs or whatever, but
Hierarchy of needs.
yeah, there's like, you need stability and variety. You know, you need to have both. You can't just have one. Whereas in business, you don't need variety, really. A business doesn't need variety.
Yeah.
It's not a human. It needs consistency. And
Yeah.
I think one of the issues that we had was we were applying our personal preferences to a business that had different needs than our own minds, souls, bodies, whatever you want to call it.
Dude, absolutely. Because I feel like for a while it was like, I felt like it was my ego that was chasing certain projects. Like it was like, oh, I want to do this project because it looks cool or because it looks fun or whatever. Versus then I mean, I guess the transformation over the past year or 2 years, the realization is like, well, if we're fucking broke,
Yeah, that's
you
literally
know,
the
like
thing,
why are we doing a business to make money?
Yeah.
And we can kind of dodge that as much as we want to and act like it's like, oh, I like to travel and have fun. It's like, well, but if we're making money, then we can travel and not work, and
Yeah.
like I can have my fun and fulfillment outside of work, and like, and even like building a successful business like the difficult parts of it make it more satisfying. It's like with the hunt that you talked about, like by it being a really difficult and challenging thing versus like if you were to just go onto a freaking private farm and have a
Machine gun. From
sure, that's cool. That's cool once, you know.
Yeah.
But it's not like something where you're like,
Proud.
that changed my life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so proud of this, and like, so it's like it was like getting clear on like, you know, why do we even have a business in the first place? Like,
Yeah.
sure, there's gonna be fun and cool opportunities, but like, I know for sure I'm looking for the personal growth. Like, I'm looking for me to become a better person. That's gonna be from facing challenges, and I'm looking to make money and build opportunities, and like even like doing video for dentists, even though that may be boring, is still better than freaking working construction in
Yeah.
the sun for 12 hours a day.
I think that it also, your priorities change, at least for me, like, because when I started out, like, when I was working with Gerard, I was, like, labeled myself as, like, a creator and, a creative and a videographer. And, like, how I got fulfillment was making, like, a banger video. Like, oh, the transitions in this, the music, the way that the shots line up is, like, so cool, you know? I'm an awesome videographer, you know?
Yeah.
But now I'm, like, shifting my identity more towards, like, being a entrepreneur businessman. And just by doing that and then looking at where we are, it's like I'm not being a good businessman because we're not making money. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like if you're a good videographer or good photographer, you make great videos, you make great photos.
Yeah.
And if you're identifying as that, you get a lot of fulfillment out of that. Whereas now, like I'm shifting that into being a businessman, and it's like I'm gonna get more fulfillment by building a business that works, you know,
Yeah.
and that's not currently happening. And so it's like that's where I want to get the fulfillment from. Like I don't want to get the fulfillment from like, oh, this video, I made it, me, like I edited it, I shot it. You know, it's like I don't care for that anymore. Like it's been a long journey to get there. Like, but like you said, like we've done a lot of cool things, and we've done cool shoots with cool people, like celebrities and stuff. But it's like still. When you like get to the core of it, it's like you're still not like you don't have it's like no matter what you do, unless you're this certain type of individual, which I'm not, like you need your basics covered. You need to be able to pay rent and not worry about it. Like I think that if you go back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization is at the very top, basic fundamentals of shelter, food, water at the bottom. And when you can't do that, which we like I know, like I've been in that, like I'm still in it month over month. Like I don't care about how fulfilled I am with a video. I don't care about my purpose or whatever. Like that is a luxury to be able to think about your purpose in this life. You know, like you have to get these things covered. You know, like your rent's covered, your food's covered, your relationships are good. You know, and then at the very top, then you can start thinking about your purpose in life or whatever.
Yeah.
But like flipping that around of being like, this is, you know, like it's putting a immense pressure, a good pressure of like, let's figure this out because I don't want me or any of the homies being worried about survival shit, you know, like basic needs, you know, like then we can figure out all that other stuff later. But it's like, we need to get our business working. And what does it mean to have a business work? It means we have consistent leads coming in that are paying and shoots are getting done. And it's like, you know, you can, when you start thinking from that perspective of what does a good business look like, you can then start making some moves. But if we're just like, I want to have fun, you know, I want to do cool projects, I want to do whatever, it's like, you don't really have a gauge of how to go about that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because even like as an entrepreneur, like from speaking on my shift from videographer to entrepreneur or like creator to entrepreneur is like it's now it feels way more satisfying to be able to be like I didn't do the sales calls, I didn't set the cameras up, I didn't edit this, like taking pride in like the team or like having a shoot happen that I wasn't even there. Like that has only happened in Temple Mills history in the past year or 2 years. Probably not even 2 years, probably just the last year where we've gotten to the point where there have been multiple shoots that I haven't been on the shoot and they still were successful. And I'm like, now something like that happening is gives me more satisfaction than like, oh, I shot this, I freaking spent 12 hours editing this, I blah 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 blah. Even though that is still cool, like the control freak in me still likes to like do that. Like it's an ongoing process, getting better, like letting go. But even like with having more boring projects is like easier for me to let go of it.
Yeah, and I think that there's also like a
I need to head out, so I don't know if you want to
I don't
ride
even
back.
know how long we've been rolling
Yeah, it's
for.
like 4 o'clock, so
Oh, yeah,
I need to dip. You guys can keep going if you want, and I can just. I don't know if you want to ride.
No, we can
back.
wrap this up. We've been
Yeah, we
going
can
for a
wrap.
few hours, so
We're bumping on my time limit.
it's been
here.
dope getting this combo in since Truman's been up here because you moved down to St. George. So
Yeah.
we'll probably start to do these like when you're in town. But guys, follow us on social media at Convos with Humans on TikTok. Leave a review on the podcast on Apple Podcasts or whatever. Like, comment below. Y'all like the fucking stupid ass talking shit. Y'all like the
shaved
business
face?
shit. y'all like the shaved face. Should I grow back the beard and age a few years? But anyway, it's been lit, boys.
All
Knuckles.
right. Catch y'all on the flip.
Catch you on the flip.